Your baby has just been born. They're placed in your arms, warm and small, and completely dependent on you to understand what they need. But they can't talk, they can't point, they can't tell you that they're hungry, tired, uncomfortable, or in pain. All they have is sound, a cry here, a whimper there. Different sounds, but without a translation guide, they all sound essentially the same, urgent. The first weeks with a newborn are often characterized by exhaustion and a particular kind of anxiety. You're trying to decode what seems like an impossible language. Your baby cries, and you cycle through the checklist. Hungry, dirty diaper, tired, cold, too warm, needs to be burped. You try one thing, then another, guessing and hoping something works. But here's what developmental researchers have discovered over the past 2 decades. Your baby isn't speaking a random language at all. They're using a very specific system, a system that is so consistent, so biologically hardwired, that you can actually learn to understand it. And not just to understand it, but to respond with precision, to know immediately what your baby needs, to establish a communication loop that is the foundation of secure attachment and healthy development. Priscilla Dunst, an Australian infant development specialist, spent over 15 years studying how newborns communicate. She documented patterns in infant vocalizations from birth to 3 months old and discovered that there are 5 primary sounds that account for nearly all of a newborn's intentional communication during those first months. These aren't random cries. Each one is produced by a specific reflex, triggered by a specific need, and recognizable once you know what to listen for. The research that has followed has revealed something even more important. When parents learn to recognize and respond to these 5 sounds, they don't just reduce their own stress and frustration. They actually trigger neurochemical changes in the baby's brain. They strengthen neural pathways associated with trust, security, and the ability to regulate emotion. They establish, from the very first days of life, a relationship pattern that will influence how your child forms attachments throughout their lifetime. Here are the 5 sounds. Learn them, listen for them, and watch how quickly your anxiety decreases and your confidence increases. Sound 1, neigh. The hunger sound. This is often the first sound you'll hear from your newborn after they leave the hospital. It's the sound neigh, pronounced almost like the word no, but slightly nasal. Most parents don't immediately recognize it as the hunger signal because they expect crying to be louder, more desperate. But hunger doesn't start as desperation in a newborn. It starts as a signal, and that signal is neigh. The biological mechanism behind this sound is precise. When a newborn is hungry, their suckling reflex activates. This reflex is involuntary. It's not something your baby is consciously doing. Instead, as hunger builds, the baby's tongue naturally lifts toward the roof of the mouth. This tongue position creates a specific sound when air passes through. That sound is neigh. It's not a learned cry. It's a reflex-generated vocalization. Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania recorded hundreds of newborns in their first weeks of life and isolated the acoustic properties of each vocalization. When they analyzed the neigh sound, they found it had a very specific frequency pattern and timing. The sound is actually shorter and more repetitive than parents typically expect. It comes in clusters, neigh, 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 not as one long cry, but as a series of brief utterances. The timing of this sound is critical information for parents. The neigh sound appears before the baby has reached a state of acute distress. This is the early signal. If you respond to neigh, you're feeding your baby before they escalate into full crying. This has profound developmental implications. Research from Cambridge University shows that babies who are fed in response to early hunger signals develop better self-regulation abilities later in childhood. Their nervous system doesn't have to go into high-stress mode. They learn that their signals are heard and responded to quickly. That experience shapes the developing brain. Additionally, responding to the neigh sound prevents the stress cascade. When a baby cries from acute hunger, cortisol, the stress hormone, rises significantly. Blood glucose drops. The baby's heart rate increases. Their nervous system moves into a heightened state. But when you recognize neigh and feed the baby, you interrupt that cascade before it happens. You're teaching your baby's nervous system that problems are solved quickly, that the world is responsive to their needs, that learning happens at a neurological level before the baby has language to understand it. The neck sound typically appears from birth through about 3 months old, though it usually becomes less frequent after 6 to 8 weeks as the baby starts to develop more complex vocalizations. But in those first weeks, when this is your primary communication channel, recognizing neck can reduce your guessing by half. Sound 2. Whoa. The tiredness sound. The second sound you'll hear is whoa, which sounds like a yawn sound. It comes out as a sustained, slightly open-mouthed vocalization. Oh. Most parents mistake this for discomfort or pain initially because of its tone, but it's actually your baby telling you they're tired. It's the equivalent of a baby yawning, which it essentially is. The biological basis for this sound is related to how the infant's nervous system manages fatigue. When a baby is becoming tired, their body chemistry is changing. Adenosine, the neurotransmitter that builds up during wakefulness and signals the need for sleep, is accumulating in the baby's brain. As adenosine levels rise, the muscles relax, the mouth naturally opens slightly, and the vocal cords vibrate in a relaxed manner, producing the characteristic "oh" sound. Sleep researchers have found that newborns produce this sound most frequently in specific windows. Typically, a baby will start producing "oh" sounds about 30 to 45 minutes before they actually reach a point of being unable to stay awake. This is critical information. If you wait until your baby is crying hard and their eyes are drooping, you've already missed the optimal window for putting them to sleep. If you respond to "oh," you're catching the baby in a state where sleep is imminent, but the nervous system isn't yet in distress. The reason this matters goes deeper than just making your evenings easier. Research on infant sleep and brain development shows that babies who are put to sleep before they reach a state of exhaustion sleep better, stay asleep longer, and develop more regular sleep-wake cycles faster. Additionally, their nervous system learns a different pattern. Instead of fighting tiredness until they collapse into sleep, they learn to recognize their own fatigue signals and transition smoothly into sleep. This skill of recognizing and responding to your own internal signals becomes the foundation for self-regulation throughout life. Neuroscientists at the Max Planck Institute found that babies who are consistently put to sleep in response to early tiredness signals develop better attention span and more stable mood regulation by age 2. The mechanism appears to be that the baby's brain learns to associate sleep signals with positive outcome, strengthening the neural pathways that govern the sleep-wake cycle. The baby's circadian rhythm becomes more stable. Their brainwave patterns during sleep show better consolidation of learning. Listen for "oh" before the escalated crying. Look for the glazed expression, the slower movements, the slightly open mouth. Your baby is telling you they're ready to sleep. Respond to that message, and you're not just making your life easier. You're actively supporting the development of healthy sleep patterns and emotional regulation. Sound 3. Heh. The discomfort sound. The third sound is heh, which sounds like a short, slightly sharp exhale or a brief cry. Heh, heh, heh. It's a very common sound, and it's your baby's way of saying something physical is bothering them. This is the discomfort signal. Something about their current state is not right. Discomfort in a newborn can come from many sources. The room is too cold or too warm. The baby is wearing clothing that's too tight or has a scratchy tag. The diaper is wet or soiled. The baby's position is awkward. There's a strand of hair wrapped around a finger. Something in the baby's physical environment is creating a signal of discomfort to their nervous system, and that signal is being vocalized as heh. The heh sound is actually quite different acoustically from other baby sounds. Research analyzing infant vocalizations found that heh has a higher frequency, sharper onset, and shorter duration than hunger or tiredness sounds. It's like the baby's nervous system is creating a different acoustic signal for a different stimulus. When researchers played recordings of these different sounds to parents who had been trained to recognize them, the hey sound consistently triggered a response of something is wrong, even without any other context. The interesting thing about the discomfort sound is that it gives parents a checklist. When you hear huh, you don't have to guess what it is. You systematically check, is the baby cold? Is the room temperature right? Is the clothing comfortable? Is the diaper clean and dry? Is there something physically poking or restricting? You're not trying to guess the mysterious need. You're doing a physical assessment. This sound teaches parents an important lesson about responsiveness. Developmental psychologists have found that parents who learn to recognize and respond to the discomfort sound develop better attunement to their baby's physical needs. They become more aware of how temperature, clothing, positioning, and environmental factors affect their baby. They develop an almost intuitive sense of what might be uncomfortable. And in the process, they're modeling for their baby how to pay attention to physical signals, how to recognize discomfort, how to take action to solve problems. Sound 4. Air. The gas or digestive sound. The fourth sound is A, which sounds like a guttural sound coming from the back of the throat. It's often described as more of a grunt or a low sound. Hey! This is the sound your baby makes when there's something going on in their digestive system. Either gas has built up in their belly, or they need to have a bowel movement. The biological mechanism here is digestive. A newborn's digestive system is completely new. Their gut flora is being colonized. Their intestines are learning how to process milk and manage gas. These processes create physical sensations that the baby's nervous system registers as uncomfortable. The ear sound is the baby's way of signaling that they're experiencing abdominal discomfort or pressure. Gas in a newborn's belly is a source of real pain. The baby's intestinal walls are sensitive. The gas creates pressure and cramping. For many first-time parents, this is the most distressing sound to hear because it seems desperate. The baby is in actual discomfort, and the parent often feels helpless about how to fix it. But understanding the E sound is crucial because it allows you to respond specifically and effectively. When you hear the sound, the most effective response is to help your baby release the pressure. Many parents intuitively do this by holding the baby upright against their chest or by supporting the baby in a position where their belly is gently compressed. Some parents gently massage the baby's abdomen or move the baby's legs in a gentle cycling motion. These actions help move gas through the intestinal tract and can provide immediate relief. Research on parent-infant synchrony shows something interesting. When parents respond to the E sound with physical comfort measures, they're not just relieving the baby's immediate discomfort, they're also developing a pattern of physical attunement. The baby learns that when they signal discomfort, a parent will respond with touch and movement. The parent learns to read the baby's physical state and respond appropriately. Over time, this develops into a sophisticated dance of physical communication that strengthens the parent-child bond. Some parents find that they can actually anticipate the E sound based on timing. Most babies have patterns to their gas and digestion. They might produce the E sound at the same times each day, or after certain feeds. By recognizing these patterns, parents can sometimes prevent intense gas discomfort by proactively positioning the baby or gently supporting their digestion. This predictive awareness is a sign that you're becoming deeply attuned to your baby's rhythms. Sound 5. The burp reflex sound. Air that needs to come up. The fifth and final sound is actually more of a reflex-generated vocalization. It's the sound your baby makes when they have air in their stomach that needs to come up. Many parents describe it as a sort of choking or guttural sound. It can sound distressed, but it's usually a sign that the baby simply needs help burping. When a baby feeds, whether by bottle or breast, they inevitably swallow some air. That air needs to come out. A newborn's esophagus and esophageal sphincter are still developing, so they can't just burp on command like an older child or adult. They need help. They need to be positioned vertically. They need gentle pressure on their belly or gentle pats on their back to encourage the air bubble to move up and out. The sound that indicates this need is distinctive. It's different from the other sounds because it's specifically triggered by the presence of air in the baby's stomach. The baby's nervous system registers the air as needing to move, and the vocalization is almost a reflex response to that stimulus. The sound can vary. Sometimes it's almost a retching sound. sometimes a gentle whimper, but it almost always appears shortly after a feeding. The intervention is straightforward. Hold the baby upright with their chin resting on your shoulder. Support their weight. If you want to be more active, you can gently pat or rub their back. The combination of vertical positioning and gentle back patting creates the conditions that help trapped air move up through the esophagus and come out as a burp. Most babies need burping after each feeding session. What's interesting about the burping reflex from a developmental perspective is that it teaches parents about body awareness and patience. Burping a baby can take a few minutes or longer. During that time, parents are holding their baby against their chest. They're feeling the baby's movements. They're waiting for the burp that signals the air has been released. They're learning the unique feel of their baby's body against theirs. This contact, this waiting, this attunement is actually building neural connections. Research shows that frequent skin-to-skin contact and gentle physical care during the first months of life is associated with better stress regulation, stronger immune function, and more secure attachment later in childhood. So this fifth sound, which might seem like just a practical matter of helping your baby burp, is actually creating a foundation for physical security and trust. How these 5 sounds create communication. When you step back and look at all 5 sounds together, you see something remarkable. Your baby isn't just randomly crying. They're systematically communicating 5 different physical states: hunger, tiredness, discomfort, digestive issues, and the need to burp. Together, these 5 sounds account for the vast majority of what a newborn needs to communicate in their first 3 months of life. Each sound is produced by a different biological mechanism. Each one signals a different need, and each one calls for a different response. This is not random or mystical. This is a system that your baby's nervous system has been born with, a system that you can learn. Attachment researchers have found that parents who learn to recognize and respond to these distinct sounds develop what's called attunement. Attunement is the capacity to sense your baby's needs and respond to them accurately. Parents with high attunement spend less time guessing, less time cycling through possible solutions, and more time successfully addressing the baby's actual need. And babies with highly attuned parents show measurable differences in their developing brain. They have stronger connections in regions associated with social understanding and emotional regulation. They cry less overall because their cries are being heard and understood quickly. The relationship that builds through learning these 5 sounds is the foundation of secure attachment. Your baby learns that you understand them, that you respond, that their signals matter. Your baby develops trust in the relationship, and you develop confidence in your ability to parent this unique individual.